Welcome, everyone. This is the Adobe Creative Campus Digital Literacy Cafe, where we take what's current, what's really sort of in the focus of everyone's concerns in higher education. And as I said earlier, I invite the best, most interesting people to share their thoughts and their experiences about what's going on their campus in this regard.
I think we came to realize over perhaps the last 5 years that we had a significant amount of work to do on how we were using assessment, that perhaps many of the methods we were using were overly traditional and most significantly were not helping prepare our students for the workplace, and in particular securing those jobs that they were very keen to. And the feedback that we got from employers was that often our graduates actually lacked confidence and sometimes almost low self-esteem of what they were capable of, but also what they'd done. Last year in our business school, we had a particular module that all of our first year undergraduates did, which was project-based. And it had been a module that for several years had been challenging for students, that they were new to university, but most importantly, they were new to thinking in an interdisciplinary way and working collaboratively with their peers. So we used the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite to transform the possibilities around assessment, to take away some of those false parameters that we put in place and allow them to think and demonstrate their thinking in new ways, in exactly the way that they would in their workplace. We saw some fantastic improvements in terms of student satisfaction, but also, interestingly, how stretched the students felt in a positive way by working in that particular environment. This academic year, we've seeded with Adobe projects in each of our faculties, which are trialing and testing new approaches to assessment, and we're really excited to see the outcomes of those.
It's a really great question, and totally agree with you about the faculty at UTSA. It's not the only campus I've worked at, and I've never worked with a faculty that's more open and engaged to new types of learning. And a shout out to Red Madden, because I know you're in the audience and you were one of our very first early adopters for Adobe Creative Cloud. I think there are a couple of things that are happening. I think in higher ed broadly writ, in Texas as a system, and at UTSA, we're looking at two different things. I think people realize that we haven't really embedded the kinds of tools that students may necessarily need that can either help them be extra engaged and really do better in their courses, or just simply be better prepared when they leave. One thing that we saw in utilizing the Adobe Creative Cloud suite of tools is that we saw faculty confidence grow in learning new things and actually re-engaging with their curriculum. And so, Todd, as you talk about maintaining the same types of learning outcomes, you do that, but you do it in different ways. And we see it from our students, and we hear from our students just a heightened sense of engagement because they can own the way they want to convey information and ideas, and that's what's been really important. And so I think, when you ask about the future, I think the future is looking at how we are able to embed more seamlessly things like Adobe Creative Cloud, and then find ways to measure it. I mean, what was so important to us when we and full disclosure, I helped sort of lead this project. So we had East Tennessee State and Cal State Fullerton and UTSA that participated, but didn't do the data work. But to be able to look at what we saw and realize that it makes a difference.
We recognise that for our students, there are huge benefits to them coming onto campus, in particular the social interaction, which can sometimes be a little bit challenging online, particularly if you're entering university for the first time. So what it's making us consider is, what is the value add from technology for hybrid learning, but also for what happens on campus in the classroom, and what can we do in the future to make sure that the time students spend online and on campus students is giving them the maximum value for what they're hoping to get from their degree. And it's those challenges that we're trying to work through. So how can we break down the barriers for access for digital? And then how can we really clearly define for our students the benefits of being online and on campus, and how can we get those right?
We're trying to make sure that we're organized in a way that meets our students' needs and our faculty needs. So I mentioned that we shifted and we're not so modality driven in terms of organizational structure, but we're driven by values. We're starting to look at, we spend a lot of time, and the analytics are obvious to us around how our students are doing. So we're able to kind of measure our success looking at their grades, or how we proxies for engagement, like have they checked in their learning management system? How much time have they spent on things?
Our staff in those areas are now beginning to use the tools in new and innovative ways to engage with students, but most importantly, to give them the tools to tell their stories in their own way. And that might be students who've been homeschooling for very long periods of time, who've endured bereavements, or who've been on the front line in hospitals. So I'm really excited to see how this develops and how this supports our students over the months and years to come.
I mean, one that I mentioned, but it's not insignificant, was UTSA's participation in the research project, because it was so validating to the faculty who've been using Adobe Creative Cloud to actually see impact, and also to see that there is something that we weren't necessarily thinking of in that way that is making a specific difference. And so we did set a new cultural context at UTSA around innovation and opportunity, and our students do feel more heard. I think that student government's voice in their academic experience became probably amplified multiple times over what it had been previously, because it's so important to know what they're doing. So I think a success in terms of our student connection, completely different. They're part of our panels. We had a panel last week talking about issues that faculty were facing, and they surfaced the issue and said, stresses us out when you give us till Sunday to turn in assignments, because then we worry all weekend. At the end of the day, just do it on a Friday. Give us Friday at midnight. It's little things like that. So I think a success for us has been amplifying the student voice. Another success for us has been creating the culture of let's own the moment, and let's push ourselves to be creative and to be innovative. And you know what? If it isn't perfect, that's okay. We're still going to learn something, and it will still help move us forward.
Thanks again, everyone, for being with us. And hopefully we'll see you in the next cafe.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Take care.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.